Howdy. Science Alert, 14 March 2023. Simple math predicts electrical activity in the brain. Study shows. Through a vast network of nerve fibers, electrical signals are constantly traveling across the brain. This complicated activity is what ultimately gives rise to our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, but also possibly to mental health and neurological problems when things go wrong. Brain stimulation is an emergent treatment for such disorders. Stimulating a region of your brain with electrical or magnetic pulses will trigger a cascade of signals through your network of nerve connections. However, at the moment, scientists are not quite sure how these cascades travel to impact the activity of your brain as a whole. An important missing piece that limits the benefits of brain stimulation therapies. Yes, take a step back, and you will discover that there is another electromagnetic feature of our body, which is the aura. It is electromagnetic in nature as well. Not only the brain. Maybe our memory is not in the brain. It is maybe stored in our aura. But anyway, in our latest research published in Neuron, we discovered the spread of brain stimulation can be predicted using the mathematics of networks. Tracking electrical signals in the brain. Studying communication in the human brain is hard. And maybe it's even harder to study the communication between humans. This is because electrical signals move very fast, at the scale of thousands of a second, between one part of the brain and another. I really didn't read this yet, I just took a quick glimpse and I thought that's maybe interesting. So, to make matters more complicated, signals are communicated via an incredibly complex network of nerve fibers that interlink all brain regions. These issues make it difficult for scientists to even observe signals traveling through the brain. However, under very special and controlled circumstances, we can use invasive electrodes to precisely track the propagation of brain signals. Invasive electrodes are instruments that are surgically inserted into the brains of consenting patients. It is important to stress this type of invasive procedure can only be done in very special circumstances when the primary goal is to help patients. In our case, patients were people with severe epilepsy. When epilepsy patients do not respond to medication, they can opt to use electrodes to help doctors to find more out about what might be happening in their brains. Our study was based on a large group of 550 epilepsy patient volunteers in more than 20 hospitals across North America, Asia, and Europe. The electrodes provide a way to gently stimulate a brain area with an electrical pulse and, at the same time, record the patient's brain activity. We use data from electrodes placed in different positions of the brain to track the communication of electrical pulses from one region to another. As a last ingredient for our study, we used MRI scans to reconstruct the network of nerve fibers of the human brain known as connectome. This gave us a model of the physical wiring through which electrical signals are communicated in the brain. Left, an illustration of a human brain's anatomy. Center, 3D model of all nerve connection fibers. Right, a reconstruction of the brain's wiring network. There might be much more dots than on this picture. The mathematics of network communication. So, how are the signals communicated via the complex wiring of the connectome? A simple possibility is signals travel via the most direct paths in the connectome. In network terms, this would mean an electrical pulse goes from one region to another via the shortest path of intermediate regions between them. Another idea is that signals spread via network diffusion. To understand this, think about how water would flow down a network of pipes. We are back to the water. And if you think about water, which is very strong hydrogen bond, if there is like any movement to any part of the body of water, it will be transferred immediately to the other side. Because it is very strong, it's almost incompressible. So whatever kinetic energy is applied to the water, it will transfer immediately to the other side of the water body and maybe get reflected back. So there will be instantaneously some kind of a frequency emerging in the water. And where we have the interface of those kinetic or applied kinetic energies. The light gets refracted, and I think there are some kind of double layers, contemporary double layers created within the water where we get this hexagonal crystal structure, which then reflects the light. In other words, water might be a liquid crystal, might be the only liquid crystal there is. Because of these properties. The hexagonal structure of the water is, in a way, always there, but only appears at the edges or in the movement, if there is movement in it. Otherwise, it couldn't be this kind of conductor as it is. And so if there are those very strong hydrogen bonds, whatever information, kinetic energy is also information because it is energy. The information gets transferred almost instantaneously, probably much faster than light. But anyway, each time the water reaches a junction in the network, the flow is split along diverging paths. More junctions along the water's journey means more splits, and the flow along any given path becomes weaker. However, if some of the diverging paths meet again downstream, the network of the flow increases again. Yeah, it's a circuit. In this analogy, all connections, pipes, and the network contribute to shaping signal water flow, not only the ones along the most direct path. Yeah, it's all one circuitry. There are no islands in space, nor are there any islands within ourselves. What we found, this is actually much more interesting than I thought. What we found, these two types of network communication, shortest path versus diffusive flow, are two competing hypotheses to explain how electrical signals cascade through the wiring of the connectome after brain stimulation. Today, scientists are not sure which hypothesis best matches what happens in the brain. Now, once again, they don't know. A very repetitive pattern. Our study is one of the first to try to settle this debate. To do this, we asked whether shortest path of diffusion is best, or diffusion best predict electrical signal propagation as measured by the electrodes in the brains of the patients. After analyzing the data, we found evidence supporting the diffusive flow hypothesis. This means many more nerve connections compared to just the ones traveling along the shortest paths. Shape how brain stimulation cascades down the connectome. This is important information for scientists, as it helps us understand how the physical wiring of nerve connection contributes to brain activity and function. What's next? Our study is one of the first of its kind, and more work is necessary to confirm what we found. We hope that progress in our understanding of brain communication will also help clinical scientists to design better brain stimulation treatments for mental health problems. Brain stimulation can help to restore the malfunctioning communication between brain regions, for example, non-invasive stimulation done outside the skull and without the need for surgery is a treatment for major depressive disorder available in Australia. In our research, we will investigate if the discoveries reported here can be used to improve the therapeutic benefit of such brain stimulation treatments. Yeah, this is just an article about this paper. I maybe have to read the paper, but I wanted to show you still something. Once again, I refer to the Thunderbolts project. If you aren't familiar with the Thunderbolts project, YouTube channel, Electric Universe, I really recommend you to dive into it. I still would like to show you a quick part from Michael Clarage's contribution to things related to this whole thing. Yeah, it wasn't, I didn't have now really time to search for the exact thing what I was searching for, but let's just dive into that, and I really recommend you to check them out, take your time, watch them. But anyway, let's give him the say. Michael Clarage.
Today, you can verify that your eyes emit light by purchasing a Hamatsu photomultiplier and going into a completely dark room and pointing the photomultiplier at your eye. Living systems emit light from ultraviolet to very low frequency radio waves. Different tissues emit different wavelengths at different times and at varying intensities. Why is this not more obvious? Well, I would argue that it is, since we've all noticed the light in someone's eyes, or have said things like, she has a glow about her, or you were simply radiant. If we would all trust our own experience more, then science could progress much faster. The amount of light given off by creatures varies quite a bit, from a few photons per second to tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands per second. That places the intensity in the range of walking in a dense forest at night when things are really dark, but somehow plenty of nocturnal animals do just fine. What is this bio-light doing? Here are a few examples. Over the winter, a seed will not emit any light. As the rain falls and the temperatures rise, in the quiet darkness of the soil, the seeds start emitting light, green light, up to 10,000 photons per second. Another example, put someone in a dark room, shave off a bit of the hair on the scalp, and place a photodetector against the area of the visual cortex. Take a baseline reading. Ask the person to imagine a bright light. The photon count will immediately shoot up. Your brain gives off more light when you imagine light. The light emissions from the entire human body were recorded periodically over the course of a year. The entire body brightens in the summer and is darkest in the winter. Within a single day, the body brightens as the sun goes to its zenith, then the body gradually dims as the day moves to night. The light emitted from the center of the body stays the most constant, while the hands and the head show the most variation. The colors emitted are centered around green, but go to blue and yellow. The light from the center of the palms is shifted slightly more to the blue. Our blood is constantly emitting light. Blood that had a higher immune response, in this case carrying more neutrophils, had a measurably higher photon count. To our alert biomedical viewers, this is probably the best area to look for new diagnostic techniques, as you can be absolutely certain that the complex rainbow of colors given off by our blood perfectly reflects the ever-changing physical and emotional state of our organism.
Yes, I leave it here. Sorry for the interruption, or they were talking on top the chickens. But anyway, take your time, Watch the videos and make your own thoughts about them. Yeah, very interesting. But anyway, thanks. Bye.